Have you ever felt like you had to be the bad guy to get what you want? Have you ever wondered why we sometimes embrace our darker side? Today, we are exploring our darker side, mentally, emotionally, and psychologically. We are looking at some of the most iconic movie villains, and we are talking about how to exit your villain era, not as the little nice girl that always gives in and gets overlooked, but as a queen. And let me tell you something. Queens have authority. Someone in their villain era says, "You want to fight? I'll bring you a war." Someone in their queen era says, "You want to fight? Well, you'll be fighting yourself because my energy is reserved for higher purposes." Hey, my name is Brianna from Self Love Starts Now, and the concept of the villain era is essentially the intentional decision to prioritize yourself, your needs, and wants over the priorities of others. It is a mindset that originated as a means to break away from societal pressures to please others. And as women, I have to say, I do think that we have more of those societal pressures. If you think about it, it's only been the last 20, maybe 30 years that men are expected to take on more responsibilities in the home in addition to their traditional role outside of the home. But for women, we have been balancing both the traditional role inside the home as well as working outside of the home for over a century thanks to World War I. Now, obviously, different cultures and customs are different and different families handle those type of things differently. So no wonder as women we have all these different roles and we see them now trending as eras. Feminine era, dark era, soft era, dark femininity, healing era, boss era, glow up era, villain era. If you're anything like me, you're just like, okay. While I'm not usually into trends, the concept of the villain era seems to be the natural progression or flow for most people. It's just like, I'm done. I'm done trying to be everything to everyone. I'm done being vulnerable and I'm done being a people pleaser. And if you have been hurt in any way, that is just icing on the cake to those feelings you have. And the villain era is dark. In the most positive light, I have heard the villain era to be when you do something for yourself that other people don't like, you become the villain in their story. I really just have to say something right here. When you really have main character energy, who cares what other people have scripted you as? Who cares that you are the villain in their story? If you are the main character of your story, why are you even thinking about someone else's story? That's the real question. Embracing your inner queen means acknowledging your worth and authority and treating yourself with the kindness and respect that you deserve. Let's talk about some of the most iconic movie villains that we all know and may even secretly admire. There's, of course, Maleficent. She was wronged and decided to take control of her destiny, even if that meant being the villain. I'm a girl's girl, so of course I had to include Mean Girls. And there's Regina George. She is the epitome of high school villain. She ruled with fear and manipulation, but always put herself first. And let's not forget Scar from The Lion King. He was cunning and ambitious, doing whatever it took to get what he wanted. These fictional villains captivate us because they tap into deeper, darker aspects of human nature. This fascination isn't limited by fake movies. We see it in real life too, especially how we consume media. For instance, have you ever noticed how true crime grips our attention? We're gonna take a bit of a dark turn and talk about some real life things. One of the top reasons people don't like to watch the news is because of how negative it is. It seems to always focus and highlight the most negative stories. And when we see crimes as humans, it's upsetting. People robbing, stealing, just feels disgusting because we deeply crave peace and unity. But have you noticed people don't quite feel the same when it comes to true crime TV shows, movies, or documentaries? Now, even if that's not your taste in TV, most people could get drawn in quite quickly with shows like Snapped. Snapped in particular is a show that revolves around a felon, usually a woman, who has either committed or attempted murder. So why is it that the news could be turned off so quickly with disinterest, but a show like Snap piques our interest? Because we learn their stories. We learn about the villains. We are walking through their life. And a lot of these shows don't even start with middle school bullies. They will take you far back to even before the person was born. Before Sally was born, her parents split from a toxic relationship, causing her mother to run far, far away while she was still pregnant. It's just setting that stage up even before it begins. You start feeling bad for Sally, like, wow, Sally never grew up around grandparents. She never even had a dad. Her mom probably struggled with so many things financially, living in fear. Her mom probably had mental health. In any other context, we would all probably look down on someone partner. But when we learn more about them, things change. Why is that? Because we could relate to them. Displaced, I can relate to that. Rejected, I can relate to that. Misunderstood, I can relate to that. Bullied, I can relate to that. Hurt, I can relate to that. Vengeful, I can relate to that. You see, once we humanize someone, it's easier to connect to complex emotions and narratives. These villains may exhibit traits that we find compelling or even admirable at times, but ultimately their actions led to negative consequences. Take Maleficent, for example. She was betrayed and became misunderstood and so vengeful. We might admire her strength and determination to take control of her destiny, but her vengeful actions caused harm and fear. Then there's Regina George from Mean Girls. She was manipulative and insecure, finding her greatest joy in social power. While her confidence and ability to command attention can be impressive, her manipulation and insecurity created a toxic environment for those around her. And hello, Scar from Lion King killed his brother. Scar was envious, manipulative, and treacherous. His ambition might be seen as qualities of a strong leader, but his actions ultimately led to chaos and destruction. These villains show us that while certain traits may seem admirable, when they stem from negative emotions and end up hurting people, they result in an overall net negative, and their whole personalities were tainted. Now, I realize all of these things may seem so extreme, and you just may want to focus on yourself and stop people pleasing, and maybe just be a bad girl for once. But I'm gonna push you to do some self-reflection. Ask yourself, why might you be drawn to the villain error? I have seen women using the villain error to embrace their darker side and finally tap into that emotion of rage unapologetically. It's that feeling when you have been pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and finally... So why is it that you are drawn to the villain error? It's important to recognize negative feelings or behaviors that arise from this mindset. I just saw Maleficent for the first time last night, and it was heartbreaking when she woke up to find her wings missing from her body. Can you relate to that? Even having your own body taken from you? Are you tired of being pushed around? Are you done with being underestimated? Are you tired of feeling like your needs always comes last and you're constantly trying to please everyone else around you at your own expense? Insert the queen era. Being a queen is more than an era, it's a way of life. If you really think about it, all of those little eras that I mentioned in the beginning, being a queen encompasses them all. When you walk in your queen authority, you could be soft and feminine and still stand on business. It's about embracing your agency, self-respect, and inner strength without resorting to negativity. When you are a queen, you realize you have authority. When you are a villain, you just act on your current emotional state.
Let it be no more!
One of the saddest parts of Maleficent was she wasn't able to undo what she did in her anger. The key qualities of a queen are confidence, wisdom, and emotional intelligence. I am not saying to disregard your emotions or suppress your feelings. Everyone has been hurt, but you don't have to act on it. Let me tell you something that happened to me when I was in high school. I started talking to a guy and I really started to like him. I felt like we had things in common, and of course, when you start to like someone and you start talking to them more and more, your walls begin to come down. Well, that totally happened to me, and it did not end well. I ended up compromising myself and my boundaries, and I was left hurt. The way things ended and the way the guy was at the end was just honestly so dishonest. I was mad at him. But I have to say, I was more mad at myself. Now, things were not as crazy as what a lot of other girls had gone through, but they were crazy for me. It's just never a good feeling to feel like you were compromised and feel like you were not appreciated. But let me tell you something I remember, because I remember it so clearly. After that whole thing went down, I was in the shower, I was mad. I wasn't mad to the point of wanting revenge, but I remember having that feeling like, this will never happen to me again. And I mean never. I had one foot up because remember, I'm in the shower and I was scrubbing the back of my foot, and I received this powerful revelation. Don't let that change you. That was the revelation I received. Do not let this change you. And suddenly I thought about a best friend I had in middle school and another girl I was close with, and how their dating boo-boos changed them. They became harder. A healthy queen never lets someone else change her. Stepping into your queen era means leading with confidence and grace, setting a powerful example to others, and sparking positive change around you. When people don't appreciate your giving nature and they take your kindness for weakness, I know you want to step into your villain era, but what you really need is healthy boundaries. And I have heard the villain era has boundaries instead of being the people pleaser that gets walked all over, but that's not true. People may talk about having boundaries in their villain era, but from what I have seen, it's a lot of cutting people off, a lot of self-isolation, and self-isolation is usually a means of self-perseverance. Now, boundaries is kind of like patience. Not sure if you have ever heard this saying, when you pray for patience, God gives you the opportunity to be patient. Meaning, if you want something like patience, you're going to find yourself in a lot more situations that make you more annoyed than ever. If you want patience, you don't just wake up one day like, I'm so zen. I just feel so patient today. Not quite. It feels like everyone in your life just wants to annoy you. That's their number one motivation. You find yourself going to stores that only have one cashier available, and you wait online for a really long time, and then when you get to the front, they say, oh, sorry, but we're not taking cards today. Our system is down. After you waited on the line the whole time, or you're on the phone on hold for a really long time for a very important phone call just to be disconnected after hours. And boundaries are a lot like that. When you set up boundaries, it has to be tested. Boundaries have to be pushed up against to see if they are real or not. And guess what? You will never have healthy boundaries by cutting everyone out. And when you cut everyone out just to focus on yourself, you are avoiding maturity. You have to have people in your life to put you in position to enforce your boundaries. So here's a little PSA in case you didn't know. Boundaries bring conflict. Queens are not afraid or intimidated by conflict. Queens have high emotional intelligence, which enables them to manage their emotions and understand the emotions of others. When it comes to boundaries, you don't have to disrespect others for you to respect yourself. As a matter of fact, when you respect yourself, you will respect others as an overflow. And as a rule of thumb, healthy boundaries is not about keeping people out, it's about keeping behaviors out. Self-regulation. Self-regulation is a key component to emotional intelligence. It involves managing one's emotions and behavior in healthy, productive ways. It includes controlling impulses, staying calm under pressure, and handling stress effectively. This quality is crucial for personal growth, healthy relationships. The concept of the villain era often celebrates a more impulsive, rebellious, self-centered approach to life. It encourages people to prioritize their desires and emotions without considering the true impact it will have on themselves and others. While this mindset can be empowering in certain contexts, like breaking free of that people-pleasing pattern, it can also promote a lack of self-regulation. This is why the villain era is not emotionally intelligent. Emotional intelligence involves understanding and considering the emotions of others, but the villain era has that self-centered approach. Now we have to talk about self-love, because to do all the things we spoke about, it is going to involve healthy self-love. The villain era often represents a phase where we act out of pain or defensiveness, neglecting our true worth. Acknowledge your emotions, acknowledge your past behaviors, and understand their root causes. But there has to be forgiveness of yourself and of others. Practicing self-compassion helps heal wounds and fosters a nurturing inner dialogue. Set clear boundaries. By doing all of this, you embody the grace and confidence of a queen. And this reflects your dedication to becoming the best version of yourself. I am so grateful I had that revelation in the shower, because now I could see that situation was so irrelevant to my life. It would have been such a shame if I stepped into my villain era at that time and I didn't listen to the voice of God that was saying, don't let this change you. I honestly think it would have just given me a huge chip on my shoulder and affect every other relationship I had after that. In Maleficent, we see as she enters her villain era, things are broken behind her and things begin to die. We only live once. Is that the impact that you want to have on the world? Leaving the villain era behind is a step towards being the best version of yourself. Just as Maleficent was only able to reverse the damage she caused through an act of true love, lasting change in our life comes from moving beyond anger and embracing healing and love. While the villain era can offer a sense of empowerment, it does not promote the healthy things that you want long term, like healthy relationships, healthy self-love, healthy identity, and overall well-being. If you enjoyed this video, I really think that you would love my video, Boundaries, so I'll see you there. Love you. Bye.